Good morning. Who we got in here? GC, Gustavo, Charzar, Maria. Good morning. Welcome in. Who else we got? King Thomas. Hello, hello. Did you all see this? Stock futures jump after Trump's chip tariffs have broad exemptions. Trump announced late Wednesday there'd be a 100% tariff on imported chips, but not for companies that are building in the United States. Interesting. Nvidia shares rose more than 1% in the pre-market, while AMD climbed more than 2%. The ETF gained about 2% before the bell. Apple also gained 2% after the iPhone maker announced plans to spend an additional $100 billion with a B dollars on U.S. companies and suppliers over the next 4 years. And that's on top of, in addition to, a $500 billion announcement made by Apple in February. We're going to be putting a very large tariff on chips and semiconductors, Trump said in the Oval Office on Wednesday. But the news for companies like Apple is if you're building in the United States or you have committed to build, without question, committed to build in the United States, there will be no charge. So, I don't know. This likely means more revenue for those companies. I would assume, and this is me just guessing, because people were asking, why are these stocks up right now? My guess would be that there is a higher cost of, well, first of all, there's no charge, right? That's huge. No tariffs, no charge for building in the United States. So that right there is already huge. My second guess would be it costs more to manufacture in the United States, which ultimately means they're going to have to raise prices on some things, or they will raise prices on some things, which may mean more revenue for them. I would think it would balance out. You're going to pay more in labor, but you're going to charge more for your products. So I would think it would balance out. But anyways, it's just a guess on why these names are up right now. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, so here we go. We got a very large watch list today, a very full watch list today. So I need you to hang in there with me. We've got a lot to review. Don't let the large watch list overwhelm you. There are a lot of really good setups. I'm going to review those with you. Your goal today will be to pick and choose through these setups, the ones that you like the most, and just really focus on them when we're trading today. Try to maybe pick like 2 or 3 that you really, really like and just stick with it, because chances are, with things looking the way they are right now, it's one of those days where things almost look too good to be true, but chances are if one of them goes, they might all go. And if they're all going at the same time, you don't want to be overwhelmed flipping charts between Apple, looking at Amazon, looking at PLTR, looking at AMD, looking at Nvidia. You don't want to be caught up just flipping. You want to be watching 1 or 2 or maybe 3 and really saying, okay, if this one's going, all the rest of them are going, forget about everything else. Let me just try to find my good entry on this one. We're retail traders, aren't we? Right? Our goal's not to try to catch everything. We just want to catch a little piece of something, make some money, get in, get out, call it a day, and come back tomorrow and do the same thing, and do that every day. All right, we will start with SPY. We've got a very solid, nice uptrend trend line being drawn. We're on the 5-minute time frame here. I'm going to flip back and forth between the 5-minute time frame and the daily. But you see the gap up this morning. This is your gap up on SPY. We're going to be looking to take this long above your pre-market high at 638. Now, old resistance over here and yesterday's resistance there. Old resistance there, and there should be new support here. Conveniently, that's also where your previous day's close is located, so I'll be looking to take SPY short under 633. I do not think that that is going to be in play today. I do not think that I will be going short on anything today. I think we're just going to be looking for topside continuations on pretty much everything. Pretty much everything on the whole watch list. So SPY long above $638. Number two is Apple. Apple. I am so upset. Not that the run happened yesterday and I missed out on a lot of profit there, because I did. I was talking to the team when we were live trading and you all, and I was saying, hey, I think that SPY could probably get to like 212 or 213. I'd be really surprised if it got to like 215, 216, and it did. And then I was happy that it got there, because I was like, great, this looks fantastic for us to take this, because this is a gap from 216 to 220. We've been talking about this gap on the daily. Look at it. For how many months now? 1, 2, 3.5 plus another half. So 4 months we've been looking at this freaking gap on the daily on Apple. And I'm like, please let us close to that gap. And we did. And I'm like, fantastic. This is going to be the A+ setup going into tomorrow. We got a news catalyst. We've got high volume. We're going to run this up and fill that gap. And then we get the gap up. So we're in a very odd situation now where we've got a gap up into a gap, which means this is a double gap. And now the gap fill trade idea is taken away from us, because that gap starts at 216, right? And Apple's trading at like 219, almost 220. So top side, there's not that much profit margin offered here. But because of the news catalyst, we can expect to see increased volatility. Therefore, we can expect to see this probably, if it's going to go, probably just blow right through that resistance at the top side of the gap, completely fill it, and just keep going. That's what I'm kind of banking on today with Apple. And so for that reason, I want to be aggressive with the long level. In a lot of scenarios, I would say I want to be more conservative. I do lean more towards being a conservative trader. I would say long at 221, long at the pre-market high, which is a great level. I think that, and you know, that's the total gap fill. So that works if you are the trader that needs a little more confirmation, if you're the trader that wants to be a little more conservative, long at 221. Otherwise, I think that we send it on this. I think we bump that down $1, go long at 220 with the understanding that there is pre-market resistance at 221 or after hours resistance at 221 here, and just bank on the idea that if Apple goes, it's not going to hit that and pull back. We're banking on the idea that if Apple goes, it's just going to go. It's just going to take off and go. And so we won't even have to really worry about that resistance. It's risky, I will admit, but you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them, when to press, right? When to double down, when to ante up. I guess every time you have to ante up, but this is a setup where I want to be aggressive. It warrants being aggressive on this one. We do need to be mindful of the move yesterday. We do need to be mindful of the gap up this morning. But on the daily, Apple hasn't done anything in 4 months. So it just might be time for Apple to get out of this consolidation, right? Break this downtrend trend line officially and give us those higher highs and start the trend back up. So Apple, long idea for me today, over $220. The short level, we know the gap starts on the daily at 216 roughly. This is prior resistance, right? What we know to be true about support and resistance is that resistance, old resistance, should become new support. Therefore, my short level on Apple is set at 216. If you don't like that, you can move it down to 215. That would be yesterday's high of day. Do keep in mind though, if we get a sell-off on this and it gets down to 216, 215, and you're going short at 215, you do have that previous day's close just above 213, which will definitely be a likely point of support. So you have to consider, if you do want to go short on this, what's your profit margin? Now, I'm setting the short level on Apple at 216. I know I said I'm sending it, right? Like I'm going aggressive on this to the long side. Why would I also be somewhat aggressive with the short level at 216? Because I don't know if Apple being forced, I mean, not forced, but essentially forced to build in the United States is the best thing for Apple. And investors might recognize that too and say, hey, wait a minute. You know, initially this sounds really good, but we need to think of long-term here. Like, is this really maybe what's best? Like, will they generate the most revenue from this? Is this the best thing for them? And there may be a change of heart. There may be a change of heart. And if there is, we will see this sell-off, right? The price action will let us know if that's the case. And if that is the case, I do want to be in a prepared situation to take a trade on this with enough profit margin for me to be able to make something off of it. So I am going to place a short level at 216. Old resistance on the daily becomes new support. Amazon. Now, that is not the case for Amazon, where I would be aggressive with a short level. I was bearish on Amazon, and boy, was I don't want to say wrong. I mean, I had a plan. It never broke down. This yesterday was a pullback hold of the previous day's closing price, break of the downtrend trend line, and this thing just took off from there. Total run all day yesterday, never faded, all the way up to, if we go back to the daily on Amazon, all the way up to the gap area on Amazon, and there's still plenty of gap overhead to be filled. Somebody in the chat yesterday posted, Amazon left without us. And I said, no, it didn't. It gave us confirmation that it wants to reverse. This didn't run without us. There's still plenty of room for us to take advantage of this. So that gap starts at 223 and runs up to $231. Plenty of profit there, profit margin there for us to take advantage of on Amazon if it decides to continue today. So we will be looking for higher highs on Amazon. No short level set on this. Back to the 5-minute time frame. We're going to be looking for higher highs, long idea above 223 for the continuation gap fill topside. How about PLTR? How about this? Holy cow, what a move. In the live trading yesterday, we were able to identify a really proper ascending triangle. And we were running a Q&A session at this time. Somebody said, what's your thoughts on PLTR? And I shaped up this ascending triangle for them. And I said, here's the deal. You're going to look for a high of day break, which would put this into new... Wait, why did I... Hold on one sec. Sorry, I meant to zoom out and look at the other chart. When you got the high of day break, that was going to put this into new all-time highs from the prior day's high of day. And so I said, after you get the high of day break, look for a high day test from yesterday, all-time high test. Look for the pullback hold of the old resistance as new support. This is your area where you'd want to be buying off of, risking down below. Remember, we did move that long level up yesterday on PLTR up to 176. That zoomed out again, sorry. We moved that long level up to 176. So, I mean, an entry either off of this dip or on the market buy break or even on the pullback retest of 176, any of that would have worked. And this thing just took off. I couldn't believe it. I did not think that PLTR was going to make... I figured it would make a move. I didn't think it was going to make that big of a move. That really, really surprised me. So just seeing that strength on PLTR yesterday tells me we would be idiots not to look for new all-time highs out of this today. So the gap up this morning does put this into new all-time highs. So our only other option here is to go off of what we see as the pre-market high, pre-market resistance, which is $182. So PLTR long above 182. I am not looking to take this one short today. That is not in my bingo card. AMD. We had a nice sell-off yesterday on AMD, so congratulations to anybody that took that short. We were looking for the lower lows. This did wind up being a winning trade for us, but the recovery move that it's made and then the gap up this morning because of this right here, the chip tariff broad exemptions. AMD has a gap to fill from where it's currently at all the way up to the prior day's low of day. So from 167 to 172 roughly, right? Let's double check that on the daily. Yeah, there it is. So we're going to be looking for AMD to possibly push up into that gap and start to fill it today. I don't want to only set a long level on AMD because it is still also moving off of the earnings sell-off. All right, it's down for a reason from earnings. So I do want to keep an open mind on AMD and say, hey, wait a minute. I know that this is gapped up because of the most recent news, but yesterday it did have a sell-off. So possibly today we get a break of the uptrend trend line. Maybe we get a rejection of the gap, and then we can look to take this short. The only place I do feel comfortable taking this short at, though, is going to be near the previous day's closing price at 163. That would give us a proper green to red move on the break of that PDC, and then we can look for a price target of like 160 or sub 160. All right, I got 4 more for you. Hang in there. Up next is Robinhood. Robinhood. On the daily, I know that this chart has looked like ASS. It's so choppy. There's nothing here. But if it can get above the resistance around 108, which is it at that right now? It sure is. So if Hood can get above that resistance at 108, right? You see the pre-market gap up here. Back to the daily. If this gets above this resistance point, what's your resistance overhead? Seriously. I mean, you've got one peak here at 109, and then above that, I mean, barely. This is barely anything. This is hard. You got 3 days, so there's big potential for Hood to run. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see this go to 112, 113 today, if it decides to go. I think that Hood definitely is a stock that has the power to do that. It hasn't done anything since earnings. Earnings was here. It hasn't done, I mean, it sold off one day, but quickly recovered and is still having a lot of trouble getting above that resistance point. So, I mean, that resistance point to me is a defining moment for the direction of this stock for the next couple of days. If Hood can get above 108 today, there's big room for this to get to 113 / all-time highs. So we're going to be watching Hood above $108 this morning. Hood above 108. Shopify. This is a setup that, I mean, it gave us a pretty good run yesterday. There were some traders here that took advantage of this over the $150 whole number, which was our long level. Any pullback entry to 150 would have worked. Whether you're taking that here, you got to bounce. You took that here, you got to bounce. If you took it here, you got to bounce. If you took it over here, you got to bounce. So 150 held really, really, really nicely yesterday for Shopify. I'm not looking to take this short. I am still looking to take this long. It's a gap up from the earnings report yesterday that sustained the move, and it's a fairly flat open this morning. Slight gap down, but fairly flat. We're going to be looking for higher highs above yesterday's high of day. So long idea above 156. Shopify, while it's a good setup, if other things are moving, I would trade other things. I would trade literally anything else on the watch list. If everything that I just talked about runs, I would trade any other name over Shopify because they're just more popular. You tend to have better spreads on your options contracts. You tend to have better liquidity, open interest on those other names. Shopify is, for me, a back burner name. It would not be the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 choice. It's on the watch list because it is a good setup. Don't let me take that away from you. But if other things are moving, I would trade other things. If other things don't move, I've got no problem trading Shopify. I just think that some of those other setups are a little more popular. So shop long above 156. The analysis here is simple. Nvidia. This one goes back on the watch list. Why? Because of the news, right? Stock futures jump after Trump's chip tariffs have broad exemptions. On the daily, Nvidia has had a lot of problems getting above the $180, $181 level. But much like Hood, once or if that resistance is broken, This has clear room to run to the all-time high and possibly through the all-time high. And it's Nvidia. We know that this stock can make big moves. So we will be looking for higher highs above 180 or 181. Well, look at this. In the pre-market, what's it already doing? Gapped up above those price points. So the only thing we do here is look for a break of the pre-market high, which is going to be 180. I put 183.5, which is probably just off of the all-time high. I think that we can be able, I don't know why I put 183.5. It should either be 182 or 182.5. 182 or 182.5. Either one works there. I'm going to go 182.5. I'm not sure why I put 183.5. Do keep in mind, though, that if we are going long on this here, that the all-time high is a likely point of resistance, which is right there. What is that? 183.32. Exactly. Right? Let's double check. 180. Yeah. 183.3. Yeah. So do maybe keep an alert. Already have an alert, but maybe keep an alert set at the proper all-time high, and just to remind yourself, like, hey, okay, if this is running and then we see some resistance, like up in this area, 183.3. We know that it's hitting resistance off that all-time high, but then we can run this back up to and through it if this decides to actually go. All right, last one on the watch list. This is Google. Google reminds me of a couple of other setups here. I mean, it's not at the all-time high like some of these other names, but there is some room for this to run if it can get above the resistance. It's been consolidating. I would not consider this a range, I don't think. I mean, you can box in the majority of this price action, but you have that one down day there. What's very clear to me here is the resistance at 198. Resistance, resistance, resistance. And then if you go to the 5-minute time frame, it's trading right under 198. So you can see what I'm looking for here. It's going to be a break of 198 that I'm watching for, and then the run to 200, maybe 200 plus. Your first point of resistance overhead will be 200. If this can get above 200, you can start to look for a run to 205 and then 207. Cool. Okay, so top pick of the day for me is going to be on Apple, just because I feel like it has the most momentum behind it. From yesterday's run, from yesterday's after hours move up, I feel like it has maybe the most news that's kind of affecting it. But I do want to be crystal clear that I'm open to trading anything that moves. Okay? Open to trading anything that moves. Somebody's saying that there's a gap overhead on Google. There is, and I'm glad that you pointed that out. So from 198 up to about 203. That is good recognition there. So we'll extend this over so you can see there is your gap, and that's from what, 2 earnings? Yeah, 3 earnings reports ago, right here. So there is still a gap to be filled up to 202.5 roughly. You do still need to keep in mind that 200, even though that there is a gap there, 200 will still likely be a point of resistance to keep an eye on. But yes, you are correct. There is that gap there. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, that's it. That's all that I have for you. Apple's going to still be the top stock pick of the day. We're going to be looking for the break of $220. I'm going aggressive on this. If you want to be conservative, long at 221 also works. However you want to run it. We are trading live this morning. So if you'd like to attend the live trading, it's not held here on YouTube. It is held in the Discord server. YouTube has about a 15-second lag period time frame that I can't control, latency time frame, so that's no good for day trading. We will trade live here in Discord. So to navigate there, here's how you're going to do it. Once you're in the Discord server, scroll all the way down to the bottom left-hand side of the server. You're going to see a channel called the voice channel, right? Make sure that you have that channel or that heading expanded, and then click on the arena. You see people already piling in here. This is where we will conduct the live trading. So I'll meet you there in about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream here. And by the way, if you tuned in late to this stream, don't worry. When I end it, you can just click on that link again and watch it from the beginning. So it will be available for playback from the very beginning. You can start now. You have plenty of time before market open to get through everything. Put it on 1.5 speed if you need to. All right, good luck today. I hope everybody makes some money. Do be careful of the extension with the gap up this morning. I feel strongly that we will get a continuation, but we have to consider the gap up still. Okay, so what's our risk to reward? Do these stocks have more room to run topside, or do they have more room to pull back and recover and give us an inside day down to the bottom side? We got to weigh that out and gauge it. But luckily, we're all trading live together, so I'll be able to help walk you through and identify the price action in real time as we see it. All right, take care. Again, good luck. Hope you make some money. Hope the analysis this morning has helped. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you over in the Discord server for the live trading. Cheers.